Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Parent Education Series sponsored by Konick and Associates. I'm Dr. Lisa Konick. I'm a clinical psychologist and owner of Konick and Associates, which is a family behavioral health and psychological services center located in Naperville and Orland Park, Illinois. And the purpose of our Parent Education Series is to provide families and parents in our community with important resources. And as we approach Autism Awareness Month, which is in April, we are hosting a series on neurodiversity. And today we are going to be talking about the path to college for individuals with autism. And today I have with me Brianne Jonathan. Brianne is the director of the Autism Initiative and Pathways program at Aurora University. Thank you for coming today and speaking with us, Brianne.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
It's a pleasure to have you on this talk, and I know that we have families that are very interested in learning more about this new endeavor at Aurora University. I'd like to do a little more introduction of Brianne before we get started. Brianne Jonathan joined Aurora University in April 2020, Autism Awareness Month last year, and as the director of AU's Autism Initiative. In this role, she is responsible for designing and overseeing the implementation of the Pathways program and supporting awareness and appreciation for neurodiversity through faculty and staff development and training. She has also served as an adjunct professor at AU since 2018 and served as a teacher at AU's Summer Student Transition Enrichment Program, which is the STEP program. Brianne brings a wealth of experience to this role. She is a board-certified behavioral analyst and has previously worked with students with special needs with an emphasis on autism in both public school and private clinic settings. During her time as a special education teacher, Brianne developed and implemented a program designed to help students with autism build executive functioning, social, and emotional skills. The goal of the program was to guide students through their 4 years of high school, also to prepare them for the transition to adulthood. Later, she worked to expand this curriculum to the middle school and elementary levels and special education teams. She holds a BA in special education and a master's in curriculum and instruction from Aurora University, and she's currently a doctoral candidate at AU's doctoral in education program. Is that right? Doctoral of Education? Yep. Welcome again, and I'm very excited to hear a lot more about this initiative.
Thank you so much, and thanks for all of those of you who are joining us today.
And please feel free, anyone who's joining and watching, please feel free to add your comments in the comments bar, and we will certainly get to those. We're going to be talking through some of the initiative programming that Brianne has developed for Aurora University. But before we start talking about that initiative, I'd like to have a conversation about the challenges that are experienced by individuals with autism in the academic setting. A lot of our clients, and one of our specialties at Konick and Associates, is working with neurodiverse individuals. And we do a lot of coaching and support for students who are struggling in the school. And Brianne, you know firsthand some of these challenges that a lot of these individuals are experiencing throughout their academic tenure in both executive functioning, in social and sensory and challenges, and how those impact the academic environment. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Right. So in my time both as a special education teacher and consultant, I get called to many cases where students were struggling in the classroom. And most of the time for our neurodiverse population, when you really looked at it, you could trace it back to not necessarily problems understanding the content in the classroom, but you could trace it back to challenges with social. How do I ask for help? How do I self-advocate? Executive functioning, all of those planning and awareness pieces, problem solving, or sensory. Maybe, a simple thing where the student behind me taps their pencil the entire class. And so I'm missing the entire lecture because that's happening. And again, maybe I'm not self-advocating, or I self-advocate too strongly in ways that get me in trouble, lashing out, screaming, stop that, and interrupting the class. And so much of the time, a student's grade or performance in the academic setting had very little to do with their ability to take in the academic content. And it had to do with struggles with some of these things that we refer to as the hidden curriculum. And so all of the things that neurotypical students tend to pick up a little bit more naturally through their academic career. And really I always say that the older students get, the larger that gap gets, because if a 5-year-old is missing some of those things, we don't have too long where they've gone without being able to pick up on those. We can intervene and help them with the hidden curriculum. But by the time as students in high school and college, there's a lot of hidden curriculum that has gone by that they've missed. And so frustration sets in. Some of those comorbidities like depression and anxiety get stronger and stronger. And so now there are a lot more barriers in the way of success. And many times that influences a student and even their family on decision making about college, because these things have stood in their way for so long that college might just seem like too much to take on.
And I agree with that, Brianne. A lot of our families, as we're working on transition planning for a lot of our soon-to-be young adults, and they're kind of looking at the end of the high school tenure and what am I going to do next? One of the major things that a lot of parents are concerned about, and kids may not necessarily have the awareness, is adaptive skills. How are they going to get up on time, get themselves to class? Are they going to be able to transition away from preferred interests and focus on unpreferred academic tasks? Are they going to be able to advocate when they don't know what to do or they missed some instruction? And a lot of what we see with some of our students, even in the high school time frame, is when they hit a barrier, like I don't know what to do next, they just end the homework process. And that's going to be a big problem for being successful. Self-medicating, lots of those things, socializing and making connections and working in groups are all things that I think a lot of our students are have some insecurities about.
Absolutely. And there's just there's a lot of things that they need confidence building in, some self-esteem that this is something that they can do. And sometimes it's just having experiences that allow them to practice those skills that build confidence that actually I can initiate joining a group. I can reach out to a professor, and I've done it before. I've done hard things. I've done difficult things. And so it's building that repertoire of confidence, really.
Another area that I see a lot of our students struggling when we talk about executive functions is not only initiating, but also time management, knowing when to start on a project, and how, a lot of our students in high school are getting things done the day before they're due, or sometimes the day they're due, or they're writing a paper the day all in one sitting. And that's once they get to the college level, they really are going to benefit from some supports and time management. And I know that's another area that parents have communicated concern about.
Right. So we look at goal setting and planning overall, but then we actually break it down into 4 key components to that time management and monitoring, which are self-initiation, getting started without someone standing over you, making you do it, self-monitoring. So am I on the right pace for this? Knowing if an assignment is something that's a 15-minute assignment or a 2-hour assignment. That's often hard for individuals. And then there's self-inhibition. That's a really tough one. Knowing when to stop. Like, when is your project done? Or when am I done playing video games and need to move on to the assignment? And then the final piece of that subset of executive functions is the ability to change set. And this happens a lot in college classes. So you might be listening to a lecture and then the professor pivots and it's time to do group work. And then you pivot again and you're reading an article and then you pivot again. And so that, and not only just in one class, but going from one class to another. I see this struggle for high school students a lot. because it's almost like whiplash going from one teacher to another. Their expectations are different, the way they run class, how you turn in homework, all of those things are different with every teacher. Same on a college campus. The expectations are different. So the ability to change set and know this is a class where we participate a lot. We need to talk a lot. This is a class where it's all lecture and I need to take notes. Those are skills that really, again, are part of the hidden curriculum, and we need to make explicit, and we need opportunities to teach and practice skills for students who are neurodiverse.
The other piece that I see, and then we can move on to learning more about the initiative, is a lot of our individuals, as they're graduating high school, have had an IEP in place for a very long time. And this is another interesting challenge, is IEPs don't transfer to college, but supports can. So I think it would be interesting as we're talking through this, what your thoughts are, Brianne, about, some students have had pretty notable supports through their IEP, and how does that get integrated into the college experience?
Right. So, and this really leads into the mission of AU and the Autism Initiative here. Is our university, long before I came on board, our university recognized what we call the services cliff, this acknowledgement that many students on the autism spectrum have services for so long, and their families have become accustomed to their services. And we know statistically that once a student graduates high school, many of those services drop off. And so that is one of the barriers that stands in the way for a student with autism and the college experience. Oftentimes is you go from a robust group of services to very little services. That's not to say that college campuses don't honor ADA accommodations, but ADA accommodations are very different from an IEP and everything involved. So our university recognized that this was affecting the ability for a certain population to access and be successful in the college setting. And so our president, Dr. Sherrick, likes to call this initiative a initiative that looks at the intersection of need and hope. And the need is sort of these services and supports, and transitioning those into hope for the future. So that is part of what inspired us to begin the Autism Initiative here at AU.
Great. It's good to hear. So you talked a little bit about the mission. Tell us more about the training on campus. How is this looking like an interdisciplinary process, and how are students interacting with faculty and staff as part of this initiative?
Yeah, one of the things that has drawn me to AU as a student, a longtime student here and a faculty member, and into this role, is that it's a highly collaborative environment. So we have staff and faculty, as well as students in a multitude of disciplines, who are highly enthusiastic about this initiative and our mission. So we do offer things like staff trainings and workshop opportunities to teach about neurodiversity and strategies. We have book studies to inform and discuss neurodiversity, but primarily we're working to build a culture of neurodiversity by getting people involved. What we notice is that you can have all the workshops and trainings in the world, but until people have the experience of working passionately with individuals who are neurodiverse, it's hard for them to really get it and to get the meaning behind it. So when I talk about some of the programming in a few minutes, one of the biggest things is getting our faculty involved, finding their interests, their strengths, and getting them to come and be a part of our camps and part of our college connections. And when they do that, what's interesting is they may have some anxiety about having neurodiverse folks in their classroom, but once they are around these folks and they understand what they have to offer, it brings down some of that anxiety. It inspires them to learn more about how to help students who are neurodiverse to be successful in the classroom. So again, we're talking a lot about barriers, but some of those barriers sort of dissipate when they get the opportunity to be involved.
And I like what you're saying about, the benefits of having neurodiverse and individuals and students on campus. What are some of the strengths that you see that population bringing to the college campus?
This is really important to us at AU. So although all of the challenges we mentioned at the beginning of our conversation, we recognize that those are real. We honor those. We respect that things can be more difficult for individuals who are neurodiverse. We actually approach our programming from a strengths-based model and vantage point, which means we believe that the strengths of folks who are neurodiverse enrich our community, our campus, our local community, large corporation, and really the world as a whole. And so things like just divergent thinking, different ways of thinking and problem solving, attention to detail can be really, really common for people who are on the spectrum. We also have folks who are able to stick with a project for longer periods of time than neurotypical folks. And then just like anyone else, we just are enriching the community with different personalities, and everyone brings their own strengths, whether they're neurotypical or neurodiverse. But we really believe that by bringing more neurodiversity onto our campus and by teaching and supporting neurodiversity amongst our faculty and students, that we're enriching our community and just making it a more vibrant community to be a part of.
Great. Let's talk about the summer camps, Brianne. I know what I really like about this program is that it's starting at the high school level. There's that tendency as students are in high school, and 10th grade is when students start thinking, oh, I got the SATs, ACTs next year. I'm going to be doing some college planning, and there's a lot of buzz and vibe about that. And really, I think the transition planning process is best suited earlier in high school than it is during senior year. So you're really looking at that and as part of this initiative and starting that programming for students early on in the high school process as they're thinking about class selections. Tell us about how those camps are going to be working.
Right. As you mentioned, Dr. Konick, one of the things that's so important to us and that we really understand and respect is the challenge of transitions for folks who are on the spectrum. And so we don't want to do a 1-week preparation course for moving from high school to college. We realize that the ramping up process needs to be longer, more in-depth, and more immersive. So the main purpose of our summer camps is to offer students and their families a reference point or a preview of a college experience. The outcome may be that they love the idea of college, they love Aurora University, and they end up coming here. And that's wonderful. They may realize they love college, but AU's not for them. And that's okay for us too. And they may realize college just really isn't for them and they need to take a different route. But the most important thing to us is that it's now an informed decision based on concrete experiences rather than abstract thinking. Like you mentioned before, when peers are talking about college, it's this abstract thought and it's so big, it's difficult to pinpoint. So our camps offer academic experiences, social, emotional, independent living, and executive functioning support. Students take a couple of short academic courses. One is a preview of what a college course might look like, and the other is a class focused on building the skills necessary for college success. They'll eat meals on campus in our dining hall. We'll have some social groups that are run a couple times during the week of our camp. The social groups are led by our graduate students here on campus. We'll have social and recreational activities on and off campus. And for our residential campers, we have a day trip to Chicago, as well as evening activities in the residence hall. Students who come to this camp and their families can expect to have staff who are knowledgeable and experienced working with neurodiverse populations. And they'll also have camp counselors who will serve as peer models who are current college students.
It really sounds very well planned, Brianne, which I like to see. And one of the things I was thinking about as you were talking is, as we know, a lot of individuals that are neurodiverse with autism struggle they get very anxious with things that they don't know what to expect. And I think that whole idea of college being so abstract is, I don't know what to expect, and it seems very scary to me. I don't know if I can live on campus by myself. I don't know if I can commute. I don't know if I can handle the coursework. And this gives them a nice way of easing into that and having themselves become more familiar with students and faculty in the process. So I think it sounds wonderful. And someone did post a question. Please do feel free to post questions during the presentation, and we'll get to those as we see them come up. Now, I know with the summer camps, you're going to be offering those to high school students. How long are those camps, Brianne?
Yeah, we have two camps. One is a residential camp and where students will stay overnight. And that camp is 10 days from July 7th to July 17th. And then we also have a day camp, which runs from July 19th through 30th, Monday through Friday only. And the hours are 8:45 to 4 o'clock. So it's more like a school day, although we do a lot. It's not just academic classes, but they go home at the end of the day. And we really base those camps on where they are in their schooling. So the closer they get to college, we encourage them to take part in the residential camp. But we ease them in with a day camp when they're a little bit younger. So they're not yet having to do the overnight part in a residence hall, but they can get the college experience during the day. And then following years, as they get older, they can spend the night here and get what it feels like to actually be living on campus.
Would they stay? You said they stay in the residence hall then?
Correct. Yeah, we're actually staying right here. Yeah, on our Aurora University campus in a residence hall room that our college students live in when they live on campus.
So I know on the website, Brianne, and you and I talked a little offline about this. I believe it says sophomores and juniors. Seniors, are they able to also participate, even though they would be graduating in May or June? They can still participate in the summer camps?
Correct. Anyone who is under 21 years old, high school students, so rising sophomores, juniors, or seniors, as well as recent graduates who are under 21, can take part in the summer camp. So if you graduated a year or two ago, but you're under 21, you can still qualify to participate in the camp.
Great. And I know some school programs do have plus programs, so that kids may not have formally graduated from their high school yet until age 22. So as long as they're or younger than 21, they can do a camp.
Correct.
Now tell us about the process for the transfer students, Brianne. How, if students have reached that 22-year mark and they're considering this program, or they're transferring and maybe they did try some college classes, how does this program work?
Yeah, we're really excited for our College Connections program, which runs from September through May. So it's right in line with our academic school year here at Aurora University. And those are monthly programs where students stay connected. There's no overnight component to that, but there's activities on campus and off campus each month. There's groups that they can take part in. And it's a really great way to, once again, get familiarized with Aurora University, a college setting, but in a way that sort of eases you into knowing what it's about. It's also a really great way for students to build a social network outside of maybe what they've, maybe the same people they've gone to school with for many years. Or sometimes students who are at a community college are struggling to make connections there because they might just go to class and go home and it's hard to make connections. So this is really a way to build a social network. So our College Connections program is available for high school students, but also for transfer students who would be interested in looking to transfer to a four-year university.
Great. Now we do have a question. I saw that the school has an autism studies program. Will the students in the program work at the camp?
Yes. So our camp counselors are being recruited from several programs. Autism Studies is one of them, as well as our Therapeutic Recreation program, our Parks and Recreation program. As some students from social work will be involved as well, but they will also receive extensive training on working with neurodiverse populations in order to be a camp counselor.
Oh, that's wonderful that this is really a well-rounded experience on many levels. How is the college experience going to be formatted, Brianne? Now, once students are saying, I'm wanting to enroll at AU.
Yeah, so beginning in fall of 2022, so we still have a little bit to go, we will have the Pathways College program for students who are applied to Aurora University and are accepted. So they have to be accepted to AU based on what they've done so far in school. And then you also have to apply to the Pathways program and have a diagnosis of ASD or a similar disability in order to do that. We look for students who are degree seeking in one of our majors that we offer here. And we offer practical and immersive experiences to support, again, executive functioning, social, emotional, and independent living skills. Some of the things that we offer, I don't want to go through every component because it's a really long list, but we offer early move-in for students and acclimation to the campus before everyone else gets here. We offer weekly seminars during the semester, study tables, so a specific time and place with support to go to get work done. That's really key because what we know is when students go to college, oftentimes it's learning that productive habits of mind to set aside time and space. Space is really just as important as time in getting work done. So we will offer those study tables. Our campus already has a wonderful set of counseling services here that would be available to students. We'll have individualized peer mentors that can do everything from help them with schoolwork, introduce them to peers, go to a football game together, eat lunch together. And so just someone to connect with on that peer level. And then we'll offer weekly social and recreational activities and outings. And in their last 2 years of the program, there'll be a career exploration activity because, as I mentioned before, we feel very strongly about the importance of transitions. And so not just the transition into college, but the transition out of college is just as essential to us as the transition into college.
We have a couple more questions, Brianne. What if the student doesn't drive? And is there public transportation available, particularly from, the Lockport area, but other areas? Is there going to be any opportunities for that?
So as far as public transportation goes, I'm not 100% familiar with what exists in those areas to and from AU, but it wouldn't be something that AU provides. I noticed that this person indicated that their student will be 22 years old in August of 2021. So they wouldn't qualify for our camp, but they could take part in College Connections. There would be a commuting need though. It's not every day because the events are a couple times a month. So if it's something where they can work out that transportation a couple times a month and you'd have the schedule ahead of time, then that certainly could be something they take part in. If we're talking about the college program itself, which begins in fall of 2022, we will require students to live on campus to be part of this program. And our reasoning behind that is because when we're talking about teaching all of these skills that we have, it's very difficult to do so if students come for classes and then leave, right? Yeah. It's hard for us to have that immersive experience. So students who are a part of that program will be required to be living in our residence halls.
And that's really giving them a full experience as well as having access, so that I understand that. How about the SAT requirements? Do you know if those have been waived?
I will have to look into that. I'm not in the admissions office, so I'm not certain about that. So I will look into that question and I can certainly get back to you on that.
Great.
I'm writing it down right now so I don't forget.
Now, the other piece that you were ready to speak to, and which was my next question, Brianne, is how does the Pathways program prepare and support students at graduation or even prior to graduation into entering the workforce? What is the vocational options available?
Right. So one of the things I did mention is this 2-year-long career exploration activity. So that's a ramping up. We will pair students with some vocational setting that aligns with the major that they're in. And so it might start really small with just once a month having lunch with someone from that community, from that corporation or business on our campus, then transitioning to going into that campus. What we want them to do is by the end of 2 years, have something that they can put on their resume or portfolio. So a project they completed, a research paper that they did. Depending on the field of study, it may look very different, but we want them to have something to take with them to future employers. It also might be a great 2-year long interview process at that company. And if the company offers internships, we can certainly try to integrate those. The other thing that we're doing that's really exciting is we're working with very large corporations as well as small businesses and community partners to identify and understand the benefit of neurodiversity in the workforce. On the opposite side of that, we also want to identify some of the gaps that they're seeing from neurodiverse workers when they enter the workforce. And so what we do is we take the expertise of these companies and we're building our curriculum, our seminar curriculum around those gaps that they see and those identified needs. So all of that really is this partnership between corporations, small businesses, the local community, and our campus and our program here.
Great. It's wonderful. And I do think more and more employers are recognizing the value of neurodiversity in their business and very loyal, consistent workers. And once they get, a lot of these individuals get hired, they really find that they're in a great, they found a very long-term, hardworking employee. So I'm glad that there's some integration to that.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more large corporations that have HR directors of neurodiversity, program heads. And so this is actually a job just focused on getting neurodiverse populations working for their companies. So I think that trend will translate from these larger corporations to smaller businesses over time as well.
Now we have another question. Are students in the program housed in the gen ed dorms? Are there any considerations made regarding roommates? That's a very good question.
Yes, we certainly have we understand that roommates can be a difficult thing for individuals with autism. And so once our program starts in fall of 2022, we intend to have primarily individual dorm rooms for students in our program unless they request specifically a roommate. We don't want to take out the option of a roommate because some folks might feel like that would really help them. But we will talk to the families and really consider what would be best. Right now, we don't have that because it's not starting until fall of 2022. We don't have a specific space set aside, but I can tell you that a lot of thought is being put into where on campus these residence halls room would be, and making some adjustments to sensory components in those residence halls as well.
Good. You are thinking of all the areas. That's wonderful. All the areas of need. You mentioned when the programs are starting to enroll students. How can people get in touch, Brianne, finding more information about enrollment, finding more information if they want to research these programs further?
Yeah, so there's several ways. You can check out our website, which is aurora.edu/pathways. I can type this into the chat too. You can email me directly or call me directly. That's really the best way to get more individualized information. So there's general information about our program, but we believe strongly in individualizing for the students that come to us. So it's best if we can understand who you and your student are and work from there.
What I'm going to make a suggestion for, this is going to be posted on our Facebook page. We will have you, Brianne, share those resources directly on that link. Perfect. For people to connect with. And those of you that have had questions that still have some follow-ups, if you could please give Brianne an email, that might facilitate that communication link. And I don't see any new questions coming in. Is there anything else, Brianne, that you feel you would like to say in kind of wrapping up for today?
I just really encourage people to explore both the Pathways programming, but also Aurora University, what we have to offer as far as our majors here, as far as the campus. If students are interested in taking a tour, that's something that we can set up. Even before, not to apply as a college student yet, we can set up a tour for folks who might be interested in the camps or college connections program. So just let us know, just reach out to us, and we'd be really excited to hear from you.
Wonderful. I appreciate all your time today, Brianne. It's been a wealth of information. I'm sure that it'll be very useful for the individuals that are tuning in today. And if there are any questions that anyone has after you've given this a little further thought, please feel free to post those. I'll be watching those posts on our Facebook page and also to connect with Brianne directly.
Absolutely. Please feel free to reach out on the Facebook page or to me. Either way, we'll make sure that we answer those questions.
And we will sign off in a moment here. I just want to remind everyone we do have an autism series coming up. So there are some additional talks coming up. Brianne's actually going to be speaking next month on educational supports for individuals on the spectrum from elementary through college plus. So please tune in. The information's posted on our website, and we also will have it on our Facebook page as well. There'll be some additional free panel presentations in honor of Autism Awareness Month. Thanks everyone for tuning in today. Let's see, anything else? Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
We will look forward to hearing more about this program as we see people enrolling.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.